What's going on? It's your boy Herb Tutter. Welcome back to the show, The Transition. Today I'm talking about lack of accountability. I feel like as a black male in America, we travel in the double yellow lines that's in the middle of the road. The ones that separate ongoing traffic, where you got traffic on one side going in this direction and you got traffic on the other side going in that direction. I feel like as a black American, we kind of travel and navigate right there in that middle and have to be careful on both sides. And I'll explain both sides. On one side, you have centuries of racism and people trying to pretend like that's not how this has been steered for centuries. You also have lack of education and poverty on that side, and people that feel like we are a good game. So the reality of the position that they're in life is 100% our fault. So now, whenever we get a chance, we should hurt, maim, or kill anyone that we can possibly get. And I'm still not understanding where this puts you at any better position in your life, because poverty is poverty. I'm grabbing at this low hanging fruit just like you are. So I'm not understanding where I hurt your chances of being who you are in America as well. But again, America has told people that affirmative action is the reason why you're where you're at. So you have a lot of ignorance and you have a lot of poverty and you have a lot of uneducation going on, where people decide that the reason why I'm in the position I'm in is because you exist. So now the best thing to do is to take you off the face of this earth, and that'll do what? It's still not going to thrust you in any position, because if you're a couch potato, taking me off the face of the earth is going to still leave you as a couch potato. But when you have fearless leaders that are telling you that it's okay to grab women in the crotch and afraid of everything and anything that doesn't look exactly like him, you know, afraid of homosexuality, afraid, anybody that steers life through fear, which is most of Congress, and wants everything to stay one, particular way. And that's because there's a bigger agenda of keeping the rich rich and keeping the poor poor and getting rid of that middle class. If we can get rid of that middle class, then we have no problems, because we live in this fear that we're going to lose money. You've been getting money from generation to generation handed down. How are you going to lose it? Some of us have become self-made millionaires, and we're still going to have money to pass down from generation to generation. So I'm not understanding what fear is that but greed, that you are afraid of that situation. But the reality is that if that's how the world is being steered, and everybody is saying that it is our fault, then we have to be afraid of how we approach everything and how we go about everything. Like, I was skeptical of how I approached this particular show, not in fear of not aggravating anybody that is not black, and aggravating anybody that's black. But anybody that knows me know I'm gonna say it how I say it. On the other side of the road, you have an elegant, articulate man that had went into office as the president with the job to try to straighten out what has been taking place since George Washington. And so many people have this idea and notion that he didn't do anything when he was in office. And we all pretend like that's not because of the color of his skin. But on this side of the road, you have a noted reverend in Jesse Jackson that got caught on camera saying that he would like to hit him in the scrotums because he doesn't feel like Obama had did enough for the black community. Well, it's kind of funny because as a black man, I always say that it's real simple to be the villain because nobody tells anybody that that's the villain how to be the villain. But when you're trying to be the superhero, everybody wants to tell you how to fly around that doesn't have a cape. So in the same scenario, you get caught saying that you would love to hit him in the scrotums because he hasn't done anything for the black community when what have you done to help the scenario yourself? Looking at some of our other figures, Michael Jackson was out there doing everything that he could possibly do to carry on for a black pop artist. And Oprah Winfrey was 100% his fan and needed his interviews. 10 years later, she is thrusted in the position where she has to take him 100% down. Gail, her friend. The same with Kobe Bryant. Yeah, I get that as journalists, you have to ask these tough questions, but there's always a way that you don't have to talk about it. But instead, Gail wanted to take Kobe down. This documentary, with The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. It's amazing how all of the black males that are media people, journalists, are talking about how Jordan behaved as a leader and how frustrated they were on his psychological tactics of getting his guys to a level for them to become champions. But these same people that have this frustration, like Shannon Sharp, this frustration of Michael Jordan and how and this fixation of tearing him completely down, is the same person that kind of belittled the whole idea of the Bad Boys, Detroit, with Isaiah Thomas, deciding to physically hurt Jordan every time that they went in there. And we feel sorry that he didn't get in the Olympics the year the Dream Team was there, and how bad that Michael Jordan should feel if he had any responsibility of him not getting in there. When how can you in one sentence say that you feel bad for the people that got championships and wrote off Jordan's name? You feel bad for him asking them to and him riding them to come up to his level, but you have some type of empathy and sympathy for Isaiah Thomas, who created this issue and problem for himself, being a person from Chicago, and you have all of these opinions about how Isaiah was just playing basketball when everybody said that. But let's remember, it was called the Jordan rules, not the Horace Grant rules or the Scottie Pippen rules, and I'm a Scottie Pippen fan. But the reality is that if you cut the head off, everybody else will go. Now, a figure of Michael Jordan hasn't been. He's three-peated twice. I don't remember any black quarterbacks three-peating, number one. But number two, I don't remember you being able to be a leader as a wide receiver or a running back. The leaders are the quarterbacks. So the only leader that could say the same thing that Michael Jordan has said is Tom Brady. A lot of people said Tom Brady was a hard person to play with. But again, champions are asking you to raise to a certain level. Again, we're at that point in time in life where I say there's a lot of people on both sides that when you travel this yellow line that we're traveling, when we come up to the cross walk, those double white lines that horizontally come across, this is that entitled lane where everybody on each side in traffic feels like they should be able to take this lane, because that entitlement lane is that I should be able to judge but not be judged. But as a black American man, we're not supposed to feel entitled, and we're supposed to search for solidification on both sides. So on this side of traffic, I'm supposed to be okay with whatever is happening at work, and everybody else can be held to the lowest standard as possible. But as soon as I punch in, I gotta be sweating as I'm punching in, or everybody can walk up and ask, where am I at, and hold me accountable for everything else. The whole 8 hours that I'm gone from home, I'm having to be pushed to the limit all the time, and in fear that I'm actually going to show that I can do the exact same thing that you're doing in a shorter amount of time with less training. So now I'm over here and it's not fair. I go home and I ask everybody to step up to the same, accountability that I'm held to as the man of the house. And now I got everybody asking, can they just show up at home? So on one side, I'm asking, can anybody else be held accountable at work? And then I go home and I'm like, well, can somebody else take out the garbage? Or can we both tell the kids this is what they need to do, and they're not our friends? We're parents and we're on the same team. No, everybody is not held to the same accountability as Black American men. And I say Black American men because I've worked with African men and women in a number of companies, and they're so offended by the term African Americans because their question was, have you ever been to Africa? But I've also met white people that come from Africa. So could they be, considered African American more than myself? This was thrusted by other people to say that this is, the term that we should use. I use Black American because the only place I've been and I've had issues and problems in is in America. So I'm a Black American. But understanding the lack of accountability that's going on right now is huge, because everybody is holding us to such a high level, is that now we have to ask for solidification, and hopefully I can be accepted over here in the workplace and in quote unquote white America, and in Black American terms, I'm supposed to ask, can I be solidified by my household as well? It's amazing how if you're in different homes and you have children, when the children do great, the mothers are right there to take all of that credit of how good it is. When the children do bad, the fathers are the ones that have to take on all of this stuff. When you didn't listen to anything that I said, you don't have kids listening to me because everybody's entitled. So everybody thinks that they're on the same level that I'm on. So everybody thinks that they're sacrificing the same way. Now I have all of this anger, but I have nowhere that I can let it out because nobody wants to listen to my anger at home. Nobody's listening to my anger at work. So I'm in this middle lane, in this double yellow line with a number of other Black males. And guess what? We started getting frustrated and agitated with each other, arguing with each other in this lane. And the only reason we stop arguing with each other is that we look at the millennial and the Z young Black males, and we've started noticing that they're stepping out into traffic and just getting ran over. And that's because of the entitlement that was taught that, oh no, you can cross anytime you want to. So they're not even crossing in the crosswalk anymore. They're just deciding to just walk out of the double yellow lines, and the traffic is going to stop. And a lot of stuff is happening to them that isn't happening to us because of the difference of accountability. There's a lack of accountability that's going on right now that I don't think people want to discuss, because that means that everybody would have to pay attention themselves. My mother taught me right out the gate, You sit in the middle. You're not pro-black. You're not pro-white. You're not pro anything. You are down with who is down for you. So you definitely have to be careful of who you let in your circle and who you trust. So and I don't care what color, what gender, if they don't have your best interests at hand, you need to call a spade a spade. Anytime we call a spade, then everybody gets what? They panties in a bunch, frustrated and agitated, but everybody loves to give us their opinion on how to be a black man, and you're not. Lack of accountability. Here's the thing. Until we are in this double yellow line, deciding to say that we're not going to take it anymore and we're going to be who we say we're going to be, things won't change. But I want everybody with this one segment to understand what part you play in the position that everybody's in as well, because I see a lot of people acting like they had nothing to do with what took place and where we're at in life. Pay attention to your contribution to what's going on, because it's easy to say, what a leader should do when you're not leading. Scottie Pippen, I love him to death. Scottie Pippen had a chance to see what that looks like, to get those Jordan rules to become the Pippen rules. And man, it's not as easy when they're targeting just you. Will you say everything the right way? Everybody does it a different way, but in that same sense, nobody has been on that same level. Only person I know in basketball, the two people that actually had the same thing was Bill Russell, because of the time, and then Hack-a-Shaq, where it was a rule that was just for that person. I never heard of Hack-a-Shannon, in my life, because he wasn't the leader of his team. So understanding that situation, if we could stop undercutting each other, and if Horace Grant got something to say to Michael Jordan, then say it to him. Don't try to use Shannon Sharp to go through it, because, again, we do that a lot too. We undercut each other all day long and then try to act like that's not what we're doing. You're not on that level, and then when people get to that level, let's see what you do when you're at that level and you're making those calls and you're winning at that level. Anybody could be the leader and lose. When you're winning, it's a totally different way that everybody pays attention to you. So today, I'm talking about lack of accountability. I think if everybody just starts worrying about themselves, we would be in such a better place. But I know social media has everybody believing that it's okay to pass judgment on everybody else with a free lane for yourself, that crosswalk lane, that entitlement lane that you can walk back and forth anytime you want without it. And if somebody say something to you, you can ghost them. Come on, As black men, man, hey, it's time for us to show people how to treat us, because you teach people how to treat you. And I'm telling you, for myself, if you ain't getting down with me, I don't care what your color is. I have no problems with icing you completely out of what's going on, because that's how I was raised by my mom. Lack of accountability. We need to all hold ourselves to a higher level. It's your boy Herb Dot, man. Listen, do something for somebody else, trust me, to give you a chance to figure out where you're supposed to be. Holla at your boy, man.